Hey everybody, Justin Chamness here, Real Estate Wholesalers Club. Welcome back to session number 2 of Pretty House Wholesaling. Guys, this is subject to wholesaling. For the cool kids, sub 2. And what we're talking about is getting the deed. We're talking about when you meet that motivated seller that has no equity. They have zero equity. That's even desirable in this technique. We're talking about pretty houses, though. Houses that aren't ugly, torn up, beaten up, ready to be knocked over, need to be fixed before they can be flipped. We're talking about pretty stuff, but we're talking about motivated sellers that have zero equity or near zero equity and getting that deed. Last week we talked about getting started. Tonight we're talking about how do you create the financing. I've got lots and lots of paperwork. I've got some disclosures for you. I've got some advice for you. I am not a legal guy. I'm not an attorney. I'm not anywhere close to that. I'm not trying to give you legal advice. I'm just trying to give you some advice from a wholesaler to another wholesaler. So look at these agreements that we're going to show you tonight. We're going to show you where they're at. You can access them, the disclosures, and walk with us as we step through Pretty House Wholesaling. This is session number 2, how to create the financing.
If you want to quick flip real estate, this is going to change your life.
Yes, we're back. We're back, and we're very excited. We're having a great week here at the Real Estate Wholesalers Club. We really are. We're making offers. You know, we've been talking a lot about that around here, making offers. That's really your job as a real estate wholesaler, to make offers, no matter what technique that you have chosen, whether that's bank-owned wholesaling, which we've been talking a lot about with some folks, and especially in our one-on-one coaching. They're really wanting to learn about how to do bank-owned wholesaling. Guys, this is one of my favorite techniques. I love this technique. I've outsourced a lot of this technique, but, you know, a lot of people are also interested in that mobile wholesaling, and, you know, which is virtual co-wholesaling or joint venturing, and that's, you know, we also do that. That's also one of my favorite techniques. This here that we're discussing tonight, Pretty House Wholesaling, is a little lesser favorite of mine. It's not something that I do very often, to be honest with you. I have done it. I do it when it's necessary, but most of the time I am focusing, if I'm on a particular mission and there is a motivated seller of this type, typically what I'm doing is I'm going for the wholesale lease option. And so I was talking with a one-on-one student this week, and they were talking about how they wanted to focus on Pretty House Wholesaling, and I got to talking with them, and I said, well, you know, I always encourage every one-on-one student to pick a technique, and let's get good at making money doing that before we try to venture off into other techniques. And this particular mentee had chosen Pretty House Wholesaling as, you know, what they wanted to do. What they wanted to learn first from the one-on-one coaching, their evolution. That's what I like to call it, their evolution. So they chose the Pretty House Wholesaling. But in conversing about that, you know, I said, you know, it's a little more, it takes a little more confidence, and it takes a really motivated seller to be willing to do a Pretty House Wholesale deal with you, a subject to deal. And so, you know, really what we do more often than not, just to be honest, is a wholesale lease option. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you from learning the Pretty House Wholesale business. This with the subject to, that's not my goal, or, you know, what I'm trying to do right here. I'm not trying to discourage you from it. I'm just telling you that in reality, and, you know, I'm kind of the reality coach, guys. If there's a real estate wholesaler coach out there that's like more in tune to what's up with reality, I feel like it's me. I don't feel like I fill the world full of bullshit stuff. I feel like I tell you what's the straight shooting truth, okay? And the straight shooting truth is that, yeah, this is an awesome tool to have in your tool bag, and you will use it, okay? But most of the time, you will find yourself deferring over to the wholesale lease option. Yeah. And it has a lot to do with the market that we're in. It's a bit of a seller's market at this particular time. Now, when things get super hot and heavy, swing in the other direction with the buyers, then, you know, it becomes a buyer's market. We're in a little bit different position. Okay. So you kind of have to understand that's why a real estate wholesaler wants to have numerous tools in his toolkit, because, you know, you're going to run into different situations at different times. And man, believe me, timing means everything. Timing means everything. You know, I've been telling a lot of people lately, you know, they want to know where I came from in my history and what I've been up to for the last 10 or 20 years. And yeah, I've been trying the wholesaling game. You know, that's not my story. Nope. That's a lot of people's story. You know, I could say that about fix and flipping. Yeah, I've tried fix and flipping. Yeah, I have. I've tried it and 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 tried it. Yeah, it's not my favorite by any means at all. Not my favorite. Nope, not my favorite. You know, I've also tried doing other things like being a landlord. Nope, not my favorite. Not my favorite. I'm one of them guys that decided, look, I want to be a real estate wholesaler, and that's just what I want to be. That's all I want to be. So I want to be the best real estate wholesaler I can be, right? Doesn't that make sense? So, like, I'm completely and totally 100% personally content with being just a wholesaler. I'm not just trying to play around with being a wholesaler. Okay, I'm not like I'd want to try to be a wholesaler on the side. Okay, while I'm trying to do a landlord thing or a fix and flip. You know, get good at something, man. I got good at something and I fell in love with it. See, that's the thing. So I really like it. And I think a lot of people out there could relate. Listen, you know, this is something that doesn't tie me down like being a landlord or being a fix and flipper can tie you down. Okay? Yeah. So anyway, that's really probably my heart and soul for a few minutes. I see a bunch of people have hopped on. Janet and Mike and Jeanette, Dwayne, John, and there's lots more. I'm very thankful, guys, for everybody that's hopping on here tonight. We're going to jump right into the content that we're here to talk about, and that's creating the financing on these deals. All right, I want to open the floor. Hey, what's up, Ryan? What's going on? Are there any questions in the house tonight? Anybody got any questions from last week's material? Not any of the other evolutions. We're talking about Pretty House Wholesaling, so let's try to keep it on Pretty House Wholesaling if we can tonight. Any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I mean, for real, put them in the chat, because we definitely want to answer your questions. Real Estate Wholesalers Club is all about answering your questions. All right, so put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Tonight, we are talking about, in particular, creating the financing on a pretty house or a subject to deal. All right. Now, a couple things I want to address right off the bat. Last week, we were talking, I mentioned a bit about the due on sale clause. We will address the due on sale clause tonight, and why that's probably not going to be an issue for you doing subject to deals. All right. Also, we are going to talk tonight about how to find the paperwork to do this stuff and what does a disclosure look like. I'm going to show you where to find all that stuff, because you're going to need both. All right. But before we do any of that stuff, we need to do a little bit of a recap. All right, guys, our example from last week was we find a pretty house with a motivated seller. This seller wants to move. They need to move. They have a house that is worth $200,000, and they still owe $195,000 on it. Okay, now, that's really a walk away if you're kind of looking for an ugly house deal, isn't it? Because you don't have that 30% equity in there for your buyers. You can't use the 70% rule and qualify this house. This is a pretty house, though, and there's some money that can be made. If the seller is motivated enough to do this deal with you, you can make a good check from it, all right? And in situations where the economy is where folks are in pinches and need to get out of houses, this technique is golden, okay? So you can see the house is worth $200,000. They still owe $195,000. And they have a monthly payment. Payment is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance of $1,550 a month. Okay? Now, what we do is we come in, we recognize that, yep, that house is worth $200,000, right? We take the property over, we get the deed, we have the seller transfer the deed to us for the loan balance. And the loan balance is going to be changing each month as the payments begin to arrive. Okay? So we're going to do this subject to the homeowner's original loan. All right? And right now, in this example, it is $195,000. Okay. So $195,000, the house is worth $200,000. But we're going to go ahead and take the deed, get the deed. They're going to transfer the deed to us for the loan balance, subject to the original loan. So the original loan is going to stay in the homeowner or the original seller in their name, but the deed is going to pass into your name, or actually your buyer. Okay? Now, your buyer is going to come in and pick up this property at $205,000 from you. All right? That creates between $195,000, which is the current loan balance, and what your sale price is of $205,000. That gives you a $10,000 down payment that you can collect from the buyer and keep as your profits. The monthly payment of $1,550, the new buyer assumes and takes that on. Okay? Yeah, we talked about this a lot last week in subject to wholesaling getting started. All right, so check that out. But the biggest point that I wanted to bring out from last week is that the best deals come from sellers with no other options and in niches which no one else is working. And this is one of those niches. Okay? A lot of wholesalers, like I said before, they are just looking for ugly houses because that's what they've been trained to do. So there is not as much saturation of wholesalers out there looking for deals with no equity. You ask a wholesaler anywhere, hey, what kind of list do you buy? Do you buy a high equity list, absentee list, or do you buy absentee owner list? Or do you buy a no equity absentee owner list? Oh, we buy the high equity stuff. Exactly. Yeah, they do. You know, and because they're looking for that 30% spread for their buyer. Now, the best deals, though, come from sellers with no other options, motivated sellers in niches like this one that aren't saturated with everybody else trying to find these deals. So it's a great way to make money in real estate wholesaling. All right. I wanted to be the best wholesaler I could be. And so, you know, that's really what I've set out to do. Now, guys, I want to show you where the paperwork is, where an outline is, so that you can go find what you need to find step by step, what to do on how to subject to wholesale. And we're going to get into a little bit of that tonight, showing you how that works and explaining how all of that works. Okay, so if you were to go over to realestatewholesalersclub.com, and if you haven't, please do. All right. And then you go down, you can click, you know, the basic wholesaler training, or you can click the advanced training. It doesn't matter where you go or what module of training you're trying to select. There will be paperwork and agreements for that module or that training evolution in those modules. Now, whenever you click one, if you click the pretty house one, you can go there, of course, to the course, but it's going to interrupt you here for 1 minute, and I'm going to pitch to you the one-on-one coaching. All right, it's very affordable. Right now, that page is down though because hey, the struggle is real. All right, that's all I can say. But I'm getting it back up. The page is down, but anyway, it's going to get back up. But hey, when you here, just click the button. No, I'm going to the free course without doing the training or without doing the one-on-one coaching. Just click that button, and then you get over here like this, and you see these modules. Here's the step 1 button right here, materials. Click a button like that, and see here it's going to pull up a strategy overview. Right, step by step. step by step in writing, okay? If you're trying to make sense of the videos, okay, go over here to the writing and just read it. I think it'll make it easier for some of you. It may click for some of you, but all that, hey, listen, all of that is free. What's up, Carlos? What's up, Marie? What's up, Craig? Yeah. Yep. Kelly Johnson, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about the spread, man. You make the spread. Spread's real easy to make. Don't get nervous in the service. Any money you collect as down payment is profit, even if it was $100. That's $100 in your pocket. You could get 10,000 maybe. All right, so click them buttons and get over here, and you can find what you're looking for on any of these evolutions. All right, but especially this one, the Pretty House Wholesaling. You can find exactly what we're talking about tonight. Here's a strategy overview. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's a couple little simple ad examples. 8, 9, all the way down. Boom, 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 boom. Also, check it out, guys. A list of forms. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Am I crazy? I don't know. Maybe. Crazy cool. Look at this free stuff. Okay, forms. Guys, look. Affidavit of purchase agreement. Assignment of contract. Performance mortgage. You know, like some of this is already making you scared, some of you. You're like, oh my gosh, I've never even heard of this. You know what? Some of it don't amount to much either. And it's all like, you know, listen, here's instructions on what it is, all right? And if you need it, it's there. Don't worry about understanding every jot and every tittle just yet, okay? All right, look at this. Subject to disclosure. That's in there. That's in there. All right. Here's one for the buy side. Here's one for the sell side. Here's one for closing. Disclosures. You need these, right? Well, it's simple. You have those filled out when you have the purchase and sale agreement filled out, okay? When you have the assignment of contract filled out. All right, see, I broke it down for you. It's real easy. There's nothing to be scared of here, guys. It's all there for you for free. Use it. Yeah, Carlos said, wait, and there's more. Man, it does sound like an infomercial, doesn't it? I should do something funny with that. Yes, it does sound like an infomercial a little bit. It really does. But I can't help that. Wait, and there's more. All for only $999. Carlos will love you, man. I know that's not how you meant it, brother. I love you too, dude. You're a great guy. You're super good. And thank you for saying that you feel lucky. I just want you guys to grasp this. And, you know, you're going to have to take some time, jump into those documents and just familiarize yourself with them. Get rid of the ignorance, which creates fear, which creates anxiety, right? Get rid of all that. You don't need any of that in your life. All right, so your job is to find motivated sellers. We're not taking advantage of these people. What we're doing is we're offering a solution, and we're offering to provide a solution, and they're offering to provide the financing. Have you thought of it in those terms? We're offering to provide a solution. They're offering to provide the financing for the deal. That's a good deal for them, right? How does it work? You're going to explain to them that the due on sale clause is not something to be scared of. And why is it not something to be scared of? Every time a bank loans money, and the bank, I want you to understand right away, they are not in the real estate business. They do not want to own houses. Okay. They are in the money business, right? That sounds kind of cool when you think of it like that. They're in the money business. They're not in the house business. That's our jobs. They're in the money business. So they loan money and they make money on their loans, right? So if they have a loan out to a motivated seller, and that motivated seller is in a pinch and they cannot sell this property because they don't have enough equity in the property, and because they don't have enough equity, they can't afford a realtor to come in and do the sale for them. All right, so now they're stuck as a for sale by owner situation, and some of them are not equipped to do this. All right, so here comes the wholesaler. Here you are. Now you're going to share with them how you can have them transfer the deed over to you, but the existing loan will stay in their name and you will take over the payments. Okay. When I'm referring to you, this is how you'll have to talk to the seller, but really I'm referring to your end buyer. Okay. You're going to take over the payments, and surely there'll be some questions that come up, but you're going to, it's as simple as logging into the online portal for their mortgage payment and making a payment online, which can be done easily by anyone each and every month without alerting anyone to anything, really. Now, you're going to be making the payments. I'm going to be making the payments, Mr. Seller, right? Now, you're going to be transferring title to me through a warranty deed at the title company. No, really, it's your end buyer, but listen, I'm talking to the seller, right? Wink, wink. All right, you're going to fully disclose everything, and you're going to whip out those disclosures, and you're going to go over them with the seller word for word and have them sign it. Okay, once they've signed it, you're in a good position. Okay? Now, again, I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. This is just simply what has worked for me and countless others. All right, and there are laws that change from time to time and so on and so forth in different various sundry places. Just look it up if you live there, and you'll find out real easy what's going on with where you are. Okay, now, if there is a due on sale clause, and there is, what that means is that if you are to transfer title of that property over to you or your buyer, then the note, the loan automatically becomes 100% due. They can make it become due. It doesn't automatically become due, okay? But they want to make it sound that way. But it doesn't automatically come due. They could make it come due. Now, why would they not want to make the entire loan due? Because banks are in the money business. And for every performing loan that they have out there in the world, that means that the payments are being made. That puts them in a good position, right? Now, so they can continue to make money, and they can borrow money against their performing loans that they have. They can get more money. Now, what happens when they have a seller who's in a pinch, they can't sell their house through a realtor, and then they stop making the payments, or they fall horribly behind? That bank has to foreclose. They have to take that property back away from the homeowner. Now they have a property. What are they going to do with the property? Well, they don't like properties. They're not in the property business. They're in the money business, but now they've been stuck with a property because the payments weren't being made. It became a non-performing loan. So now, also, because of federal regulations, right, for every non-performing loan, they have to put in reserves another 3 times that amount. So if they had a $100,000 loan out there and the seller stopped making the payment, right, they're going to have to put $400,000, another $300,000 in reserve, right? Just because that's the rules for them. So that's $300,000 they can't invest. Plus it dings their performing notes portfolio, right? So guys, when you do the math, and I'm not going to break it down for you and try to teach you the entire banking system, because I honestly don't understand all of it myself, but here's what I've been told, and here's what I know to seem to be true, and that is that when a bank has a $100,000 mortgage out there and the seller quits making the payment, it ends up costing the bank in money and opportunities something to the tune of like $4 million. That's why they don't want to call it due. If you're going to continue to make the payment, and I'm going to continue to make the payment, Mr. Seller, then it's going to do two things. That is going to put your property deals, I'm sorry, I got distracted by some comments here in the chat. If I make the payment, that's going to make your credit go up, Mr. Seller, right? It's also going to keep the mortgage company happy, and they're not going to call the note due. They would have no reason to call a performing note due. Now, if we get behind on the payments, which we're not, which is the next question they're going to have. Well, what happens if you don't make the payment? Well, it's quite simple. I would not ever want that to happen. Because then if I quit making the payment, then that means that it would hurt your credit, and it would also cause us to lose the house to the bank, and everyone would lose everything they've put into everything. Now, that is not what we want to see happen. So you move forward then from that objection by saying, okay, but if you don't do something like this, what are your alternatives? And then just be quiet and listen. Because they probably think, they're caught up in the moment just negotiating with you, but you're not going to let them escape that easily. You're going to make them consider the fact that they have also, if they say no to you, they have to go out and negotiate with this big old mean world. And they might not have a plan past you. So just let them think about that for a moment. And you might reassure them. You're going to say, hey, listen, we're not going to ask the bank for permission. We're just going to do this. And we're going to keep sending them money. As long as we do that, there is a super, super, super good chance for all of this to go absolutely seamlessly. We will log on to your online mortgage payment portal, and we will make the payment every single month and help your credit. And what about when you get the question, yes, but how am I going to buy another house? Guys, that's easy. That's super easy. You could advise them that they can go talk with a mortgage guy, but typically 75% of the payment that's going to be made on their behalf by us or our buyer, actually, okay, 75% of that usually can be counted towards something like that, towards as income, their income to debt ratio. So it actually doesn't really hurt them all that much. They can go buy another house. They can only count about 75% of this payment, though, as income, so it might set them back a couple, $200-300 a month or something on their income and debt. Yep. So, it's not really a bad situation for the seller, and it's not really a bad situation for the buyer either, right? So, I want to take 1 minute here and just recap what I just went over, because believe me, in the last 10 minutes, I dropped some serious bombs. All right. And you probably need to go back and watch this again. All right. And catch it again. But I'm going to recap one more time. All right. Yes, when they foreclose on the property, when the bank takes it back, that's when they put it in an auction. Yes, that's correct. Question in the chat. You will have to fill out some of those forms, and some of those forms the title company will help you fill out, Janet. Yes. Yes, you're welcome, Marie, Ryan. I'm glad you thought that was funny. Wait, and there's more. All for only $999. Yes, I have done that, Ryan Webb. I have done a subject to and then sold it on a lease option. Yes. Yes, you could do that. Yes. Nothing wrong with that neither, but I like to get out of the middle of it. So that's why I don't like to do that too much. I don't want to get caught in the middle in some nasty, nasty, nasty mess between a bad tenant. Man, God, guys, I went one time. one time I stayed in the middle, and I went over to visit this lady, this tenant of mine, tenant buyer. Okay, I got like 4K down, and I went over to see the property, and believe it or not, man, this thing was like, you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't believe. I walked in the front door. There was like, I swear, it looked like somebody had come in, like like drawn with crayon and pencil from about 4 feet down. Like, I'm talking about not like a little bit of marker here, a little bit of mark there. I'm talking like every wall, every room, upstairs, downstairs, did not matter. They were all about letting them kids draw all over my walls. And you can imagine what the carpet looked like up in there, man. That was a bad scenario for me. Come to find out, that chick was running a daycare out of that house. She had like 8 kids that didn't even belong to her. And I don't even know what the laws are on that shit, man. But that seems like that's probably, against the law, I'm guessing. To have 8 kids in your house that don't belong to you, and you're calling it a daycare and charging people. That'd just be my guess. But it was my house. I'd already stepped in it. All right, guys. You want to reinforce the emotional pain. When you're in the conversation with this homeowner, you're going to want to reinforce the emotional pain. Why they want to move. Do they have any other options besides you? What will they do if they say no? Okay? You're not here to scam them. You're not here to hurt them. You're going to do a full disclosure, and they're even going to read it and sign it. So you're not here to scam anybody, right? So, here's what I saw. Here's generally what I say. I'll say, now, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, I buy properties in a lot of different ways. The first way is obviously cash. And with this particular property deal, with the equity that you have and with, the situation, it would not, if I had to bring cash to this, I just couldn't. I couldn't. But the good news is that I do have other ways of buying houses. And one is where we'll just basically take this house off your hands and start making your mortgage payments for you and leave the loan in your name, and you can transfer the deed to us. So you won't have to worry about the property or making the payment. Right? That's usually when the questions start firing up, which are actually buying signals, guys. What if you don't pay? Well, if I don't pay, I lose, you lose, everybody loses. That's not going to happen. If I make the payment, what will happen is your credit will go up. Right? Your credit will get better. What will happen if I make the payment is you'll be able to go get money, use part of that payment every month, about 2/3 of it or 75% of it as income, count it towards getting another home loan. Yeah. If I make the payment. If I make the payment, then the mortgage company stays happy and they don't take your house. If I make the payment, you can go ahead and move. If I make the payment, grandma can get taken care of, or whatever job you need to take, or whatever the situation is. If I make the, now, but it's all about, what you want, Mr. Homeowner. So, what would you do if you and I didn't do a deal like this? You don't really have a lot of options, do you? See, I'm not beating him up, but at the same time, I'm talking serious turkey here, right? I'm talking serious turkey. Make sure that you understand, and we've given you access to all of the video training for both wholesaling real estate and wholesaling lease options. That it comes with the contracts, with the marketing tools, everything that you need to begin or take your business to the next level. As well, you will have access to the weekly Q&A live Facebook and YouTube broadcast. You can ask your questions and get feedback from not only me, but also from the rest of the community and the other members. We tried to really make this a comprehensive offer for you. We know that you're going to succeed, and the access to a mentor and a coach just at the touch of a button. All right, so at the touch of a button, yep. What's going to happen, guys, after you have this conversation with the seller is you're going to need to whip out that disclosure. You're going to need to whip out your other paperwork, get it started. And there is a information sheet in there you'll find, too, that will help you gather all the information that you need to do everything. Guys, we tried to think of everything. We tried to make it easy as we can. You're going to add the verbiage to your purchase and sale agreement that you're instructed to in those forms. Use a disclosure. The title company is going to get a statement of account on that loan. Okay, not a payoff, a statement of account. They're going to find out what's up. All right. So you don't have to worry about doing all of that stuff. Remember, you're not going to ask for permission. They'll never give you permission to do this. The bank will never give you permission to do this. They just won't come after you for it. They just won't stop you. All right, guys. Are there any other questions that we have about Pretty House Wholesaling? We're kind of wrapping up tonight, creating the financing. I dropped a bunch on you in a short amount of time. You will need to go back and watch this over and over. How do I know that? Because when I was learning this technique, I had to go back and watch my video guide that I was watching over and over. I'm like, what? He wasn't? Okay. You're going to explain it to them exactly how I explained it to you here tonight. Okay. You're going to explain it to the seller exactly how I explained it tonight. It's not that complicated. You just have to be confident with it and learn it, okay? And learn it where you can discuss it in a conversational manner. I love being Captain Obvious. I think that's funny. Guys, I'm really having a great time doing these sessions. I hope you're getting a lot out of it. I love all of you. I don't see any more questions rolling up in here, and I don't want to drag it out all night because I got a deal I'm trying to close right now. Seriously, I got a seller that's trying to jump off the hook here, and I'm just straight up not having it, man. I'm trying to do whatever I can to make it work, and sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, and you got to make that money. Hey, I love you guys. I really do. Check us out. Like and subscribe. Go visit the realestateWholeSalersClub.com. And we will see you Saturday morning at 10 o'clock for our 4 weeks to your virtual wholesale lease option deal. This will be session number 3. We're going to talk about talking to leads. I'm going to show you talking to leads. In fact, that's what we're going to be doing. Talking to leads. Hey, thanks for watching. But don't forget to post, introduce yourself, tag a friend, like us, leave a comment, subscribe, share this video. Just do something. Don't just sit there. There's all that money out there. You got to get going. Get in motion. This is Motion Real Estate.